Philadelphia, but I'm thoroughly disgusted with what's happening. I see a bunch of pampered, spoiled, angry athletes kneeling for our national anthem. And I think a lot of these pampered bums forget that the only reason that they have the freedom to run their big mouths like myself is because some veteran fought and died for that freedom. They don't understand that, or they forget it, or they don't care. We're in such a mess, this country. And sports, guy, we watch sports to take a break from the politics and everything else that's going on. Watch a good game. Well, I'm very busy. I get up at 7:30, sometimes 8 o'clock, and I drink my coffee, and before you know it, it's lunchtime. I literally have to force myself sometimes to get out of the house and go do something.
And that's life for you.
Retired life is great. I never excelled at something so much in my life. Somebody said, Jimmy, what are you good at? A year ago, I wouldn't have really had an answer for them, but I retired in December of, recently, last December, and I'm great at this. I don't want to brag. I don't, nobody likes a bragger, but I am really, really great at being retired.
Nice.
Yeah.
Welcome back to Hawaii Real, everybody. I have with me the hilarious, as always, Jimmy Shire.
Wow.
Yeah.
Boy, are you setting yourself up for disappointment.
Jimmy. Well, I'll try to get Jimmy Kimmel on, but he's not that good.
I'm not.
So I got the second best, right? Jimmy Shire.
Hi, you.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, dude.
I'm shocked that you wanted me. I still sitting here don't understand what the heck I'm doing here, but it's nice to be here, I guess. No, it's great. It's great.
Yeah. So you're recently retired, but you're just, so the reason I wanted you on is because anytime I've talked with you, that conversation has ended up in a laugh, a big laugh, not just a chuckle, but like good, hearty laughter.
I don't get it. I don't see it. I don't think of well, I do. I've always tried to bring levity pretty much in any and every situation, which has not always been good. I was in vehicle homicide for 3 years, and, there's a time and a place for everything. Mm-hmm. And, that was not the time when we were out on a call out, obviously. But pretty much my whole career, my goal was to bring a fun environment to the workplace. And like I said, that was not always a popular, with certain commands and certain bosses that I had over the years. But
then they had you training people and giving classes.
Yes.
It's like, okay, well, you don't want him making jokes and laughing, but then you want him teaching everybody.
Well, it's funny with the recruits. I had to become something that I'm not for the first month or so in their time in the academy, right? They don't, and I didn't want to be that happy, funny. And so if you talk to some of my former recruits and ask them, they'll tell you that, oh yeah, he's bipolar because he was a psychopath the first 2 months, yelling and screaming. But I believe in that, paramilitary environment,
Yeah, break them down and then build them back up.
Yeah. So they couldn't see that side of me. And then once they did, they're kind of like, who's this guy's crazy, And they like, where has this guy been, the first couple months. But, I learned from some veterans, Johnny Castro and Wally Ina and guys like that, and who did it the right way and really tried to instill that paramilitary look. You're coming to an organization. This isn't college. And a lot of them, didn't understand that. So
I was just watching yesterday. I rewatched that movie, End of Watch. Cop movie. Have you seen that?
I have not.
Oh my God. Oh, so the first 20 minutes of that is just, well, you cut through the shooting because it starts with a car chase and then a shootout. So cut past that because that's not accurate all the time with police officers. But after that, they cut to the guy documenting himself in the locker room and getting dressed, and everybody's teasing him and he's teasing other people, and they go to line up, and the lineup is just kind of a shit show. And the sergeant's trying to herd cats and everything. And it's like, oh my God, sometimes I miss that.
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
Yeah, I was really fortunate. You mentioned lineup back in my time with some legendary, Ernie Rebello, Dennis Stone, Danny Gooch, and some real characters. And I was a young footman. And lineup oftentimes turned into a stand-up. You really needed thick skin. And I can remember a lot of times the lieutenant just saying, just get out of here, just hit the road and beat it, because, he had no control, I mean, just busting chops and, really a good time. And every now and then I'll run into an officer who came into the FTO program and rode with one of us knuckleheads, and they talk about the fun that it was. And they said, man, that was a fun place to work. And, and I just took for granted that the whole department was like that and everywhere was like that, but it wasn't.
No,
it wasn't. So, and we had a couple of watch commanders that didn't appreciate the silliness, my inappropriate jokes on December 7th, with certain beat partners, Drew Akagi and things like that.
The Japanese.
Yeah, I remember saying that, raising my hand and I watch him. I really don't want to work with him today. That kind of thing. And just political correct humor, which today would not go over. We're living in a time where everybody's so PC and everybody's feelings are hurt. And you really gotta be careful. Which I guess some would say you should anyway. Be careful about what you say, but. That's hard for a guy like me because I was blessed with the gift of sarcasm, and I've always, yielded it at will. And now I think if I was coming into the department now, I probably would last about a year at most, and I'd probably get fired for saying, because saying the wrong thing. Not that I was crude or, I see humor in everything,
I think we've lost that. A lot of things in society, man. We just lost the sense of humor in a lot of things. That's one of the things I liked about working on the road, is that there was that dark humor and there was a sarcasm and there was just laughter and kind of the worst of places, the worst of situations afterwards. And that's kind of how you get over things too, right?
Sure.
A lot of stressful situations, post-traumatic situations. You make light of it, or it's like it's going to bug you and it's going to dig into you. It's going to be a big dark place.
Yes. And
laughter heals, man.
It does. And for those that are not in the family, the police family, it's hard maybe for them to understand that, and I used to tell the young guys, be careful now, because, even if you're off to the side and one of your partners says something to you to try to maybe get you to laugh a little bit, but there's cameras everywhere nowadays and it just doesn't look good on TV when KITV's rolling and, you see an officer with a smirk on his face or laughing, but it's not at the situation they're at. It's more probably because of something somebody like myself maybe whispered in his ear or something, Yeah. It was,
or like you're in a background crowd and the cameras are rolling and, your buddy's standing right next to you and he's like farting.
Yes.
It's like, dude, that's totally inappropriate.
You could start. Farting never gets old. If somebody asked if God had a sense of humor, and I said, of course God has a sense of humor, because farts are hilarious, and I've used that particular tool to, over the years at the worst times, inappropriate times. And boy, you talk about, and, I'm 55, right? And I imagine when I'm 75, I will still be laughing at a good fart, especially an ill-timed one,
Well, when you're that old, you got to be careful because it might not be a fart.
You have a good point there.
Yeah.
And it might not be 75, it might be 60 for me. Who knows? We
were talking before rolling about your idea.
Oh, yeah, we don't want to go there.
Yes, we do.
No, it's ridiculous.
Diaper dipstick? What are you thinking?
I wasn't, but you brought it up.
And you came up with an idea for diaper dipsticks.
You are an entrepreneur.
Yes.
You are. You've invented something, you're selling it. And I thought about, years ago, the diaper dipstick, right? You're watching your grandfather, you're not sure if he let one, number one, you don't know. Well, you're not going to pick them up and smell like you would your child. You're not going to do that. So the dipstick built into the diaper, a little strip that you remove and it turns color. Now you're laughing, but I'm telling you, I'm onto something here. And if I could just, any of you investors out there, right? You're watching Gramps, you think maybe you're not sure, but you pull the dipstick, you take a look, it's brown. If it's brown, turn around, Grandpa, and you got to change them. And I think it's a wonderful idea. And if any investors out there are interested, call me.
It's got a great name, the diaper dipstick.
Yeah. Okay.
No,
yeah.
I like the idea.
All right. Someone's going to steal it now. That's the thing. You watch. Monday, you're going to go into the Longs and there's going to be the diaper dipstick.
It could have your face on it. As
I'll sue. I will sue. Yeah.
Jimmy's diaper dipstick.
I will call one of those fine attorneys that we see on the news all the time. Ugh. Don't get me started there.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. the shutdown. How was the shutdown hurt your retirement?
It hasn't, except my wife is home. Well, God bless her, I love her, but she's working from home, and it hit right after I retired, and it's putting a damper on Jimmy time, she's working from home, so we're there, no, it's great. It's great. It hasn't affected me because I go out and I ride my bike. I have a motorcycle that I ride very cautiously because, 3 years in vehicle homicide will make you ride cautiously. But no, it hasn't been an issue. I go over to the police academy all the time, and I work out. I know it doesn't show. I go to the gym for like 2 hours and
talk to people.
Yeah, it's usually talking to the other retirees for about an hour and 40 minutes, and then I got to use the bathroom and drink water, and then I get about a good 8-10 minute workout in. I'm on the mat stretching. For the guys at the Maine that remember me in the gym, I do a lot of stretching, but then you go home and you tell the wife that I was at the gym for 2 hours. What'd you do? And she doesn't realize that it was an hour and 40 minutes of talking and goofing around.
As she does now.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't think about that, but yeah, it's great. So the COVID thing, and there is a virus. I don't know if you log into the news every night, but they really enjoy talking about it. They don't want to talk about anything else. Any of the other crime.
I did hear about something like that. There's some kind of bug going around. I
mean, you log on and boom, there's Stephanie Lum telling us that the world's ending and we're all going to die, and I really think that there's something more to this, Yes, there's a virus. Yes, a certain small percentage of society should be careful. It could be, but man, oh man, I mean, they're just the fear factor. It's troubling to me, Come on, enough already. Can we talk about something else? COVID-19, the first 15 minutes in the news every night. And it's just, you could just rewind and watch the night before because they're basically essentially saying the same thing.
For months on end, same thing.
Yeah.
Different numbers, but yeah, pretty much the same thing.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure that more people are going to die from the flu than they are from COVID. And so, I mean, we've heard all these. It's just crazy what's going on. Is there politics involved with this thing? No, come on, of course not. Yeah, there probably are. It's crazy, and everybody's scared, And I'm seeing people I love watching the people with a mask in the car when they're by themselves. I saw a lady. She was wearing gloves and the plastic shield. Sorry about that. The plastic shield, and a mask. And she was alone in her car.
She like a stormtrooper or something?
I'm pretty sure. I was like, are you going to go through the car wash with the windows down? What do you, there's a serious, because, people are sheep, they're sheep. They believe everything they hear. There's critical thinking is a lost art. Nobody thinks critically anymore. Nobody questions anything. They just hear what Hawaii News Now tells you, or pick a channel, right? KHON2 is my favorite. They're, I think they're the most above board, the most, the least craziness you're going to get from them. But yeah, it's just COVID. Man, what else you want to talk about?
Well, we couldn't talk about sports much, but you are a hockey fan.
I am.
You're from Philly.
Motown, Philly, born and raised.
God, funny, you can't be
born and raised. On the playgrounds is where I spent most of my days.
You're a Flyers fan.
I am.
Sorry. Nobody's perfect.
I am. I was the last time the Flyers won the Stanley Cup, I was 7. But I remember it. I remember being out front, banging the pots and pans, and we didn't have fireworks. We were poor. We couldn't afford fireworks. So
when you were 7, so they were wearing like those really old skates and wooden sticks and stuff.
Yeah. And they were known as the Broad Street Bullies. Mm-hmm. They were the bruisers of the league. Interesting history for you hockey fans out there. The Flyers were the ones being bullied for years. They were, and then they got a new coach, Fred Shiro, and he came in with a new philosophy. And he said, you know what, we're not going to get bullied anymore. And he went out and got himself some thugs, Dave the Hammer Schultz, and some other guys, and they took care of business, man. And they were pounding. I mean, it was great.
Yeah, they may be like, we'll lose games, but we're not getting bullied around anymore.
Yeah. It was hard for our mothers as little kids because we adored the Flyers and we tried to emulate them. And so I had an older brother. I have an older brother, and he used to pound the daylights out of me. And, we would drop the gloves in the kitchen. Even if we weren't wearing gloves, you just went like this, like you're pretending to drop the gloves, and the fight was on, and, good times.
Like hockey is the only mainstream sport where you can like fight.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Like basketball, you can't. Football, you get tossed.
Yeah. I'm just wondering, are you going to lose your local audience when we talk about hockey? Because I'm sure there's people right now are Googling.
Well, no, not if we talk about fighting in hockey.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Because that's what everybody, hey, we went to the fight and a hockey game broke out.
Good joke. Yeah. I've heard that one, and it's true. And it's funny how they're still allowed to do it. We talked about the PC world that we're in, and I'm shocked that people are still allowed that they're allowed to still fight in hockey. I'm surprised that they haven't gone to the timeout. I know the penalty box is a form of timeout.
It's still a timeout. I mean, you get into a fight, you got to sit for 5 minutes.
Yeah, you do. And they're probably going to start having a counselor come down to the penalty box, give them a good stern talking to, talk about their anger management, talking about their not uncontrolled anger. But sports is a mess, EO. I'm really disgusted. I was a very loyal. Everyone that knows me knows that I'm a Philly guy. Eagles, Flyers, Sixers, Phillies. Love them. Been watching them my whole life. Penn State, Temple, LaSalle, all the colleges in Philadelphia. But I'm thoroughly disgusted with what's happening. I see a bunch of pampered, spoiled, angry athletes kneeling for our national anthem. And I think a lot of these pampered bums forget that the only reason that they have the freedom to run their big mouths like myself is because some veteran fought and died for that freedom. They don't understand that, or they forget it, or they don't care. We're in such a mess, this country. And sports, guy, we watch sports to take a break from the politics and everything else that's going on. Watch a good game, and there's nothing like watching a Monday Night Football game when the Eagles are on. Beating a crap out of the 49ers or something like that. And but I can't. I am literally not supporting. I'm not going to watch. I'm saying that with my fingers crossed because I don't want to be a hypocrite and a liar and find myself watching a Monday Night Football game if the Eagles happen to be on this year. I may take a look, for an hour or two. But as far as...
but you won't like it.
No, I won't. I refuse to like it.
I'll watch the game, but I'm not going to like it.
No, but seriously, though, it's troubling to me that... And to see coaches and to see them supporting a Marxist movement that is so anti-American. And these guys have been so blessed and so spoiled. And they make an obscene amount of money. And they all get these endorsements from these companies that make their products in countries that have horrible child labor laws and slave labor, but no, we're not allowed to talk about that. We're not allowed to criticize, we're going to kneel for the anthem and disgrace and be angry at the same country that offered them this opportunity. It's so disgusting. So disgusting.
What do you like to teach?
Oh, I love teaching. I was blessed to be able to get to be at the academy. And you mentioned the COVID thing. Part of the, what's going on with that is they videotaped my presentation. I was teaching EPIC, Ethical Policing is Courageous, EO. Mm-hmm. It's a New Orleans created program that teaches ethics, which is nothing new, but an interesting twist on it, which encourages active bystandership, which I learned is not an easy thing to get officers to stay, and anyway, before I get too ahead of myself with that, I was doing it at ART. So every Wednesday at 6:30, I'm in Portable A as a retired reserve, and I'm teaching this 1 hour, 90-minute block of ethics. Ethical Policing is Courageous, EPIC. And I loved it. I loved it because I love getting up in front of a bunch of cops, man. I love it. And I got to see everybody, guys you haven't seen in a long, the D4 guys. It's like, that might as well be Molokai, D4. They go over there. You never see them again, You need a passport to go over there, it seems like. And, hey, who's that? Oh, he works in D4. I've never seen him in my life. Oh, he's been there, 19 years. Really? Okay. It's weird. It's just one of those districts that guys go over there and they disappear. And then you see them at the academy and they're lost, but I was doing that every Wednesday and I loved it. I loved it because it's challenging. If you can get a room full of cops at 6:30 on a Wednesday morning, I mean, some of them that are working midnights usually, and and if you can get them laughing a little bit and you break down those walls, and I've never taken myself too seriously. And once people see that about you, they realize, okay, this guy isn't a typical, just going through the, so I love it. And I've taught CPR, I've taught HRS, and I enjoy it. It is such a blessing to be able to get up in front of officers and try to deliver something. And there's times where they don't remember maybe what the important things, but they'll remember the stupid joke that I made or the comment that I made, the inappropriate comment that I made, and they'll ask, they'll bring that up, years later, and hey, did you learn anything from? No, I didn't, but I remember that, how you made fun of something or somebody, and so yeah.
I don't remember what the class was about. What were you teaching? I don't know, but you were teaching. Yeah. That's all I know.
Do you remember APEC? Move back. Yes. Remember, was it APEC? Was that what it was called?
Yeah. Back in 2011?
Yeah, I was at the academy, and we were tasked with doing the mobile field force training. And man, you talk about guys just didn't want nothing to do with this. Because you saw all the Seattle videos, you saw all the craziness that happened in Seattle.
Wait. Were you saying that Seattle was burning back in 2010, 2011?
Yeah, they've always had their...
It's not a new thing?
No, it's not, sadly. It's not. Seattle's a mess. Portland's a mess. Philly's a mess. New York's a mess. Detroit's a mess. New York City's a mess. I could go on, but I won't. But I learned back then, because we had a lot of classroom before we went out onto the tarmac to learn the marching and the pushing crowds around, that it was challenging. But if you can get officers to buy into it, and a little self-deprecating humor and that goes a long way. And so I learned then that if you can get the cops to buy into whatever it is whatever form of instruction you're trying to get through. So I learned then, and I was successful to a certain extent, and love it. Didn't it always nerve-wracking at first? I remember the first time I got up in front of a room full of people, man, it was nerve-wracking. It was way back when JSD, back in 2000, I think, 2001.
Did you ever have that fear of public speaking?
Oh yeah, I did. Very nerve-wracking. I remember that Seinfeld talking about people rated public speaking ahead of dying. They'd rather die than get up in front of a room and talk. And it's nerve-wracking. But again, once you realize, you don't try to be something you're not. That's my best advice to anybody gets up in front of a group of people, because people see right through it. They see right through it. And in a traffic division where you're familiar with, I would go out and do traffic talks. And I remember going to K-Bay to a room full of about 300 or 400 Marines. Yeah. And this was right before the holidays, and the Marine Corps wanted somebody from the division to come up and talk about the dangers of drinking and driving, which of course, you're always going to get your cases from them. You take the Marine Corps, the H3, and a crotch rocket. That's the trifecta for a VHS case. And sadly, you're going to get one. But anyway, they wanted us to come up and warn them and take them through the whole process of what happens if you get arrested for a DUI from the state side. The military has their own thing. But anyway, my opening remark to a room full of Marines was, I got up there and, they're typical, right? The walls are up and they're looking at you and you're standing in your HPD uniform and, they're giving you the whatever, and they're not real interested in what you have. And I opened with, I said, hey, I'm happy to be here. I said, just to let you guys know, I too am a veteran. And I said, and I'm here with the Marines. I said, and I thought about the Marine Corps, but I said, I wanted something more physically challenging. So I went to Coast Guard, and then the room just, yeah, then they realized, okay, this guy's an idiot and he's okay. And, they laugh, and I think somebody threw something at me, and, and the commander in the back, he's a gen, I don't know what he was, he's the 06 or whatever he was. He's laughing and shaking his head. And so, the one thing about, and I was in the Coast Guard, I retired from the reserve. I did 7 years active duty. But man, they are the butt of a lot of jokes, I won't lie to you, when it comes to the military. And I use that, right? I tell everybody, even at ART, I said, I retired, I got a 30-year pension. I said, but 4 of those years was military. And then I said, well, not, none of that mamby-pamby Army, Marine Corps. I said, I was, the real military, the Coast Guard. And, it's always good I get a lot of good, good for a lot of material, no respect. We're like the Coast Guard is the Rodney Dangerfield of the armed forces.
That's true.
But if you're a fisherman out at sea, and you need help, the Marines ain't coming to get you, right? The Coast Guard. Semper Paratus. They just had their birthday, August 4th. They just had the Coast Guard's 200 something birthday they just celebrated. Yeah. Oldest seagoing service in the United States, EO.
Did you go anywhere interesting on the Coast Guard?
No. I went to Virginia, right outside of D.C. I was in the Presidential Honor Guard, 1989 to 91. I was a toy soldier. You know, every branch of the military has a Presidential Honor Guard, and we did ceremonies at the White House and the Pentagon and Arlington National Cemetery, and I got to see a lot of world leaders. I was at Colin Powell's swearing-in ceremony when he became the chairman of the Joint Chiefs. But you're not interacting with them. You're standing there at attention, looking straight ahead. And, you know, I was stood on the Pentagon. I stood on the White House lawn. I got a great photo opportunity when Mikhail Gorbachev, remember the guy with the gravy stain on his head?
Yeah. He had his nation tattooed on his head.
And President Bush, the first President Bush, Bush 41, we would call him, not to his face, had Gorbachev, and I was right there at the top of the stairs on the White House, standing right behind him with my rifle, you know, my 1903 Springfield with a bayonet on it and all squared away. And, you know, my wife, she says, you're so fidgety, you're so ADD. She never could understand how I was able to stand these long ceremonies at attention without moving, without doing anything except blinking your eyes. It blows her mind because she goes, I don't see it. I said, well, there was the fear factor because you don't want to be in a paper or magazine, you know, moving around or, you know, or God forbid you pass out, which happens.
Yeah,
it just happens. Yeah. So yeah, I get a lot of crap about the Coast Guard, but it's funny. It's funny. Hey, it gets me in a commissary. That's what I tell people. Yeah.
Hey, that's a great one.
Yeah, it gets me in a commissary. So.
Do you still get to go in the commissary?
Yeah, I'm retired. Got a retired ID card. I go on base all the time, Neil. In fact, when I leave here, I'm going to go on base and, you know.
What are the price differences here between going to Costco or going to Sam's Club or going to the commissary?
Well, I would say this. Costco is probably, but, you know, it's just my wife and I. I don't need 5 gallons of mayo, EO. I don't need, you know, 3 gallons of peanut butter. So Costco is great for, you know, your large family, which, you know, there's some large families here. But the commissary is great. I would say if you spend $100 at the commissary, Safeway would probably be $140, $150. It's that much of a
that's a big difference.
Yeah, it is. It is. But I served my country, EO. Oh, I was in Virginia. I was in California for school, and then I got stationed here. That's how I wound up in Hawaii. I got here 30 years ago.
Oh, you just jumped the boat and swam the shore, and it was like, I'm staying.
They sent me here in when was it? 1990, 91. So I'm coming up on 30 years in Hawaii, and I never left. My wife reminds me all the time that I should have left, but I stayed. You know, and I was always going to be a Philly cop. My buddies were all Philly cops. That was the plan. And I woke up one day and I'm standing on my lanai on Pensacola Street, you know, looking out over the wonderful scenery there and thinking, man, well, I wonder if I could be a cop here. I didn't know anything. Of course, there's no internet back then to log on and read about, you know, Honolulu Police Department. Who knew? But I said, yeah, I wonder if I can stay here, you know? And so I went down and I filled out the application and did all the things that I needed to do. And then my last year of my enlistment, of course, they don't update you. They don't tell you anything, right? And so I got out of the Coast Guard in the summer of 93, and I had a window. I said, if I don't get hired by December, early December, I'm out of money. I got to go back to Motown, Philly, and I'll pursue it there. And but I got the call. You remember Edna Jones? I got the call. In October. For the October of 1993 class, the 118 EO, the greatest class to ever grace the halls of Kekula Mackay School for Higher Police Learning. You know. And what a blessing, man. And I love it. I've worked with some of the finest people, some of the finest people I've ever met are part of this police family. And it is a family, you know, people don't understand that, but you know, what you're hearing about cops today and how we're being portrayed is just so sickening to me. You know, it's really, really sad what's going on right now with our profession. So,
I mean, what would you say to someone that's like maybe finishing high school, finishing college, and potentially looking at this as a possible career?
Here in Hawaii? Yeah, absolutely. It's still a noble profession. It's still, I think, a good place to be a cop. When you compare it to Chicago, New York, Philly, Detroit, Baltimore, Seattle, Portland, Los Angeles, and on and on and on, no. And I don't know anybody who would want their son to be over in some of these cities. In fact, we have a brother retired whose son is in Oakland, and I can only imagine, you know, the stuff that he's seeing on a regular basis. And the assaults on officers are through the roof. It's horrible. But in Hawaii, yeah, if I had a son, I would, and he wanted,
A daughter.
or a daughter. Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. I think that here is still a great place. It's still a great job. And again, you'll work with, and it's just like no other job. And, we all have other jobs that we've had. And, yeah, you're not going to get rich, but it's a noble profession, and you're going to be able to take care of your family, and at some point you should be able to buy a house, maybe,
I don't know, I'm still working on that.
Yeah. Townhouse, start there, work your way up. Real estate, baby. So yeah, love it. And now I'm a reserve officer,
You love it so much you couldn't just get away.
No. And what's funny? I'm still connected. I'm still part of this family, and I remember thinking that at Tiff and KK's funerals, I was down there and I was standing on Bertania Street for that pass and review and that final salute. And it was emotional, obvious for what happened to them. But, I remember looking around at everybody standing with me and thinking what an honor it is to be part of this family, and how sad that people, put on that uniform and go to work and you just assume you're going to be home that night, right? Nobody thinks about the reality of that, and it was encouraging to me to see the way the local community rallied around us, because I told people, I said, that same scenario in Philadelphia, I said, there would be a large section of that city celebrating the death of 2 officers. I mean, literally happy and celebrating the death of 2 officers. But I think, the vast majority of the community rallied behind our department. And I saw that, and I was so appreciative, and it just solidified my, because I debated leaving when I retired, maybe moving closer to my parents in Pennsylvania. And, but I love it here. Yeah, I love it here. I always tell guys, young officers that ask me, they even ask me about the white, you're a white guy. And I said, listen, man, I said, if you work hard and you're humble, I said, they don't give a crap. They don't give a crap about your race or anything like that. I said, but if you have a chip on your shoulder, and you have an attitude about things, yeah, there's going to be some resentment. And you know what? Turn it around and go back to wherever you're from and bring somebody from Hawaii with a chip on their shoulder, and you're going to feel the same way. I said, but I have never, ever felt any of that nonsense, because I've always presented myself like, and I still to this day feel like, Honolulu didn't come looking for me. The HPD didn't come looking. I asked them for a job, and I was blessed to get hired and survive the 26 years plus 4 military. And I still to this day feel that way. I hate when people use race as a crutch, or, not to say that there's not things out there. Of course there are, but it's discouraging when you hear that, because I'm living proof that a little humility and, and once guys realize that you're a genuine person and you can do the job, you're fine. You're fine. That's my take on that.
So basically, if you have a chip on your shoulder, maybe not the job for you.
No.
Or learn to get over that.
Yeah. Very good advice. And I remember, working with the recruits at the academy. Great place to work, because it's neat to see them starting out. And then, and now I've got former recruits that are going on 13 years now. They just made motor, and some have gotten promoted. And it's really neat to see them progress and come through the department. And it's great. Corey Brailsford, he was our 160 class leader. And to watch him, the way he carries himself, and he's such an impressive, great guy. And he just got promoted to sergeant, and he takes some pride in that, like, man, I knew him from day one. I remember him coming in, and so many others, the 160, the 162, 4, 169, and I forget now the rest.
Spouting off numbers now.
Yeah, some old classes, because they're on 197 now, coming up on the 200th recruit class. Can you imagine that?
Yeah, we need to have more, because we're trying to fill spaces, fill vacancies and stuff like that. So
sure, but yeah, it's amazing how time flies.
What do you miss most about being in the police department?
The camaraderie, the being around the guys. Because I don't know if I mentioned it earlier, but I'm home. Home a lot.
You're retired successfully.
Yeah. I'm retired. Really good at it. I don't know if I mentioned that, but I'm pretty good at it. I excel at being retired. No, I miss, I miss seeing the guys on a regular basis, but I don't miss, I think I started at 6:30, Yeah. And I live in White Kelly.
That's so early.
Well, you're driving to the main every day. You want to get ahead of traffic and beat traffic, which I was blessed I could do that. But man, you're just tired all the time. Well, now, I sleep in every day. So I don't miss getting up at 0:30. VHS is even earlier. They're in at 5 a.m. So you're tired all the time, Not anymore. I'm as fresh as a daisy now.
Funny how that works.
Right? Yeah. So that part of retirement. And, a lot of guys, what are you doing? It's funny, like guys that are getting close, like, what do you do every day? And you can sense that they have that fear of either being bored or not having, there's guys out there that this is all they got, man. And they love being a cop and it's their whole identity. Well, I was never like that. I love being a cop. I love being part of the family, but it certainly wasn't my identity, So no, retirement, I eased right into it. But I do miss seeing the people, but there's a lot of things I don't miss, and you can imagine what they are. Sometimes it's a pain. And I was supervising guys, and that's not always glamorous, as you know. That has its own challenges, and trying to be a fair boss and a cool boss, but at the same time, sometimes you got to be that guy, right? Sometimes you got to do your job, and it can be frustrating, So, but there's things about that I don't miss. But like everything else, right? But that's a nice thing. You'll get there. Everybody will get there. I remember Wayne Kama. Do you remember Wayne Kama?
Yeah, old man.
Yeah, Wayne. He comes to the gym still, the academy, every now and then, and exercises. And he's a trip. But I can remember him telling me as a young rookie that it goes fast. I'm like, what? He goes, hey, it goes fast, man. And he was talking about your time in the department. And sure enough, man, it was a blur. Like, wow, how'd that happen? Especially when you get to kind of the halfway point, that first 10, 12, 13 years. And then, it is a blur after that, man. It did go fast. Like, man, it's 2020 already.
Yeah, it's like kids growing up. That goes by fast, the older they get.
Yeah.
Just like, whoa.
Oh, that's what I hear.
And, your career can just flash by in a blink of an eye.
It did.
I see these young officers in the hallways and stuff, and it's like, man, was I that young one time? I don't remember that. They look so young.
My nephew just came in, and he just graduated, and he is, I don't know what he's doing now. He finished the FTO program, and I remember they didn't even have a graduation. That's another thing, COVID, right? Mm-hmm. No more graduations. They just kind of have a little thing where the chief comes up. And I remember looking at him thinking, man, he's got 30 years to go. And then it dawned on me, I'm going to be 85 when he's eligible to retire, And I'm thinking that just seems obscene. But you know what? That'll be here in no time. You needing my diaper dipstick, man. But yeah, 30 years these kids got to do now, And it's funny, there's some coming into the academy 40, 45. There's one that's, I think, 50.
Jeez.
Yeah. And I looked at him, I said, you're 50? And he said, yeah. And I said, no, hang on. I had to do some math, 60, 70. I said, you're going to be 80 before you're eligible to retire. Of course, you can go out with age, but yeah, I give him credit, man. Coming into, it's not especially patrol, right? That's a young man's job. That's a young man's thing. It's not I know there's some new dinosaurs out there still doing it, but God bless you. God bless you.
Is there like an age difference with a successful police officer coming in versus like a younger person versus an older person who comes in early on in their police career?
I think
if they start older versus if they start younger, are they more or less likely to be successful?
Well, physically, starting younger is a definite advantage, right? You're 20, you're in probably the best shape of your life. I think a lot of us, when we came out of the academy, we were probably in the best shape of our lives. They worked us pretty good back then in the dojo and stuff. And I think I was 165 pounds, and but if I know some 30-year-olds that are much more composed and much more, they're more mature, they have life experiences. So for the daily grind of being a cop, the type of things you're going to do, I think being a little older is a big advantage just in how you talk to people, right? You got some years under your belt. You're not going to be as cocky maybe, So physically, I would say being 20, 21 is a big advantage, but dealing with people, gaining especially with the way the job is now, right? Verbal judo is an important skill. I taught that back in the day. But so just being older, you're naturally going to be more composed and I think more well-rounded, in relating to and dealing with people. So it's a two-sided answer. So, but I think being a little bit older, but now that they got to do 30 years, right? You come in at 30, if you're going to do the full ride, you're 60 when you're even eligible to retire. So
that's a long time.
It is. And people that aren't in this field think, wow, you talk an awful lot about retirement, but when you're a cop and, especially for the guys on the road, you look forward to that. That's the reward for the things that they see on a regular basis and the things that they have to deal with.
Right.
It's good to know that there's a decent reward at the end of the tunnel.
There needs to be, because when you're looking at it, and I didn't really understand the stresses of this particular part, but I thought about it later on in my career, is that the stresses of putting on a bulletproof or a bullet resistant vest to go to work every day, like that's not a normal thing.
No.
And when you think about it, it's like, why are you putting that on? Because people want to shoot you. Like that messes with your head.
Sure. And you know what else messes with your head, Eo? The smell of that vest after wearing it for a few months.
You got to air it out, man. Come on.
It really starts to stink. No, you're absolutely right. To think about that, but it's funny. A lot of society doesn't care. And that's the tragedy. People are buying into this cops are bad narrative. And, if you just take a couple of minutes and look for the data, there is no data to support what they are accusing our profession of being and doing. There's no data to support that. No, cops are not actively hunting down, looking to shoot black people. That's not happening, but they revert to these hand-picked incidences, which are horrific. Nobody in our profession that saw that incident in Minneapolis supported that, liked it. It was horrific. Interestingly though, there's some new video that has arrived. That's a whole nother, which sheds a whole new light on that situation. But yeah, it's really troubling to me. And I mentioned Philadelphia, and I've got some really good friends there that are really struggling to even just go to work. He said, it's just incredible to drive around in your police car and have little kids give you the finger and tell you to die and that they hate you and they hope you and your family dies. And you're not even interacting with these. You're not on a call. It's just you're driving around and people pull up to you next to the light and stick their middle finger at you, and hate, and the level of hatred and vitriol. And I'm thinking, man, but, these people have family. I wonder how they would feel about if their grandmother was being attacked and brutally raped. I wonder how they would feel about an officer at that time that they may or may not need, to go help a family member. But to see politicians and to see celebrities jump on this bandwagon, is so disgusting. Our local media, I'm very critical of them. There's no pushback. They just accept the garbage that these fools say, and they never challenge it. They never question it. I admire Michael W. Perry very much, because to me, he's really one of and Rick Amato, there's the only sane voices that we hear of any sanity pushing back against COVID, the narrative that they're driving, pushing back against this anti-police garbage. But very few in our local media, man, they just spew this garbage, and people, again, not critically thinking, they drink it up and they accept it. It's sad.
Yeah, there were some people posting that, I guess this was after Jerry Nadler had said that the Antifa and the protests going on in Portland were a myth,
yes,
or something like that. And it's just like, how can you be in that position? And even with all the news media that's out there and all the evidence that is clear and present in front of you, say that that's a myth. And maybe I'm taking it out of context, but
you're not. To
even go there and say that something like that, the dangers and the destruction that is going on is a myth, I don't know what to say about that.
Well, look at our own Senator Mazie Hirono. Ted Cruz made an attempt to show her since you're going to deny that it's even happening. And look at her reaction, like a 3-year-old.
Yeah.
Like a 3-year-old walking away when he tried to show her what's going on in Portland, because you're going to deny it. You know, you mentioned Jerry Nadler and you mentioned, you know, and if you only watch local news, you're not going to have a clue that these cities are burning down, that there's rioting and looting. I think it's 58 straight days, 60 straight days in Portland. But if you only watch Hawaii News Now and you're just getting filled with sunshine and lollipops and unicorns with a little coronavirus thrown in there, you know, but the rest of it's just all, yeah, I mean, they're really doing a disservice, and I want to encourage anybody. You know, you need to read some other outlets and find out what is going on out there. Because,
yeah, come to your own conclusions. Don't just watch one or the other. You know, watching multiple of them.
Yeah,
and come to your own conclusions about who's telling the truth, who's not telling the truth. What is an opinion piece and what is an actual news piece? Because there's vast difference between the two.
Yep, very well said.
I don't even watch the opinion pieces anymore.
It's hard. You really do have to make an effort to find honest and fact-based events. And thank God for YouTube, and thank God for the internet. But I'll say this: there's a lot of people that only get their news from Facebook. You know that, right? Mm-hmm. And man, you really do have to make an effort to seek truth, right? And that's a passion of mine: truth. You know, truth in a lot of different areas, religion, being a Christian. I want truth. I don't want craziness. I don't want feeling or emotion. I want truth. And with my news and with what's going on in this country, it's very important to me. And sadly, like I said, you know, I've been pounding away on our local media. You're not getting truth. You know, you're getting a narrative. Mm-hmm. You're getting something that they want you to believe. And my neighbors, I mean, a lot of people just clueless, man, clueless what's going on. You mentioned Seattle and Portland, and they look at you like, oh, what? Oh, I was at Seattle one time. It's very nice. You know, really? It's on fire right now. There's a lot of angry people, EO, that are burning the city down. And yeah, it's crazy. Crazy. Lucky we live in Hawaii. And I always hated that saying. I always thought, come on, lucky. But when all this started, all this insanity, I actually said it. I said, man, I'm pretty, I like blessed rather than lucky, but it's true. You know, we are so different. We're the only Democrat-run state that is not on fire, insane. All this craziness is happening in blue states, these blue cities with mayors. These mayors, de Blasio, the Seattle nut, the Portland nut, they... Honestly, I really believe that they would be out on the streets lighting fires and throwing rocks at cops if they could get away with it. Mm-hmm. I mean, de Blasio is a nut. He's an activist. It's not even his name. He's a crazy activist who hates the police. But they're hypocrites too, you know?
Yeah, I don't think that kind of thing would fly here in Hawaii. You know, as you know, you mentioned that Hawaii is a very Democratic run state with all the politicians and everything being mostly Democrats.
Yeah.
But even amongst them, there's a lot of conservative viewpoints. There's a lot of conservative thinking. So it's not like it's fluid, liberal, left Democrats. Mm-hmm. You have moderate Democrats and you have right-leaning Democrats here especially. And, you know, maybe they're not going to be for the Republican Party or anything like that, but they're going to have conservative viewpoints.
I agree. I think most people, if you go break down the issues of where some of these progressives lie, they don't align with, I think, how most local families want to raise their kids, and you know they're not. So there is a difference between a liberal and a progressive, you know, but unfortunately the nation and the media is embracing this radical, progressive agenda
because they're the loud ones.
It's so destructive. Yeah, it's true. But I think most people want to go to work, pay their taxes, you know, and feed their kids and pay their mortgage. And, you know, and exist. But
go back to, you know, life as it was before the pandemic.
Yeah. Pandemic.
Oh, yes.
COVID-19, you know. Yeah. Just imagine when the vaccine comes out, you know, I think I want to hold off on that, you know, because there's got to be some side effects, you know. Guys are going to line up to get the shot. They're going to run. And next thing you know, they're going to have violent diarrhea for the next 3 months or some crazy or a horn growing out of their head.
Would actually explain why toilet paper would sell out.
Yeah. Well, we're ready for the violent diarrhea. I'm pretty sure that most families are ready for that explosive event.
It boggled my mind. Hey, there's a pandemic. There's going to be a shutdown. Buy toilet paper.
I know.
What?
Yeah. Well, it goes back to my sheep mentality,
Right.
right? People are sheep. They saw Joe, their neighbor, running to get toilet paper. Joe just got toilet paper, honey. We got to go get toilet paper.
Yeah.
We got to head out and get some toilet paper. And next thing you know, they're all lined up at Costco wanting their toilet paper and their hand sanitizer, you know?
Hand sanitizer, I understand that.
Sure.
I didn't understand toilet paper. Why do you need a year's worth of toilet paper right now?
That's a great question. But, you know, it's one of those things. We live on an island. You never know when, Matson's going to make a wrong turn or something. And next thing you know, you don't have any. So, yeah. What else you want to talk about?
Well, thank you for coming on the show, man. It's been great. It's been fun.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I still was tripping out when you asked me. But hey, we all got something to say, and I thank God every day for my blessings, and we're so blessed. We live in a beautiful island. We live in a beautiful place. We've got issues, of course. Everybody does, but we're blessed. Praise God.
Praise God. We're blessed. Stay happy, Hawaii. Jimmy Shiner.
Thanks, Theo. Appreciate it.